It's rare that someone gets an idea for something, makes it perfectly in the first attempt, and brings it to market exactly how he envisioned it. There's tons of trial and error involved. Ever wonder how some of your favorite foods came about? Not all of them were created with proper planning. Some were just a happy surprise. Here is a list of the top 10 foods that were invented for another purpose. Cheese curls. Cheese curls wouldn't have existed without this device called an extruder. This device pushes a slurry of grain mash or dough through a funnel so that it comes out in the shape of curls. The extruder was initially intended as a device for crushing grain for animal feed. When a FLAKES company employee named Edward Wilson noticed that wet corn kernels were coming out of an extruder ground into a tube-like shape, he took some home. He fried these and discovered that they tasted really good. After some tinkering, cheese curls were born. Potato chips. In 1853, as legend has it, a customer at a hotel called Moon's Lake House in the resort town of Saratoga Springs, New York, complained that his fried potatoes weren't crispy enough. He sent them back to the kitchen. The frustrated chef, George Crumb, decided to slice the potatoes as thin as humanly possible and fry them. The result was a massive success. And for many years after this invention was made, potato chips were actually called Saratoga chips. Beer. Beer has been around for about 10,000 years. Most historians agree that it was probably invented by accident. Mesopotamians began storing grains of bread. Their storage spaces occasionally became damp, which caused the grains to ferment. This fermentation process resulted in the earliest beer. We should all raise a glass to that first Mesopotamian who was brave enough to sample the strange liquid. This food insider is a definite Reddit story. Champagne. The winemakers who first created champagne were just trying to make plain old white wine. The carbon dioxide bubbles were an unintended side effect of fermentation caused by the region's unusually cold climate. These bubbles initially caused fragile glass bottles to explode, ruining vast quantities of wine. Later, sturdier glass bottles were developed, and it was discovered that the resulting golden fizzy liquid was in fact delicious. Champagne was born. Popsicles. 11-year-old Frank Epperson accidentally left a glass of soda along with its mixing stick out on his porch during a cold night. In the morning, it had transformed into a block of flavored ice with a convenient handling stick out of it. The amazing fact is that 18 years later, Epperson patented his invention and named it the Epsicle. The name got changed to Popsicle within a couple of years. Today, the popularity of Popsicles even beats sour candy. SLURPEES. 7-Eleven's famous Slurpees can trace their roots back to 1958 when a Dairy Queen franchisee, Omar Nedlick, accidentally left some sodas in the freezer for too long. These partially frozen sodas became such a hit that the Nedlick invented a machine to partially freeze sodas. The machine was named the Icy Dispenser. In 1965, 7-Eleven bought one of Icy's dispensers from Omar for each of their locations, and the semi-frozen drink was given a new name, Slurpee. Chimichangas. The chimichanga, which is essentially a deep-fried burrito, was also reportedly invented by accident. Legend has it that it was invented by Monica Flynn in her Tucson restaurant, El Charro Cafe. Monica was frying her famous El Charro ground beef tacos when she accidentally dropped a burrito into the frying pan. As the oil splashed out of the pan, Monica was about to lash out a common Spanish cuss word starting with CH. However, she was among her young nieces and nephews at the time. Hence, she changed it to chimichanga, the equivalent of thingamajig. Thankfully, Monica had the foresight to take a bite. A new food was born. Nashville hot chicken. Yes, the hottest trend in fried chicken was born by mistake. It was introduced at the legendary Prince's Hot Chicken Shack in the 1930s. Legend has it that one of the owners, Thornton Prince, had a girlfriend. The girlfriend suspected that Thornton was cheating on her, so she fed him fried chicken that she had doused with spicy oil as punishment. Turned out, Thornton enjoyed the food so much that he added it to his menu. The bright side is that today you can get hot chicken as street food. Chocolate chip cookies. A woman named Ruth Wakefield, who was the owner of a popular Massachusetts restaurant called the Toll House Inn, is credited with inventing the chocolate chip cookies in the 1930s. There are different versions of the famed food's origin story. One states that Wakefield substituted Nestle's semi-sweet chocolate in her cookie batter after she ran out of baker's chocolate. The chocolate didn't melt properly, and chocolate chip cookies were born. Another says that the vibrations from a large mixer caused Nestle's chocolate to dislodge from a shelf above and drop into the batter. Both of these stories may be fabrications. Who knows? Either way, the creation of chocolate chip cookies will definitely go down in history of our modern food as a happy accident. Cornflakes. In the late 1800s, Seventh-day Adventists started a movement to stick to a diet of bland vegetarian foods. A supporter of the movement, John Harvey Kellogg, who worked as a sanitarium superintendent at Michigan's Battle Creek, decided to develop some new bland foods for himself and his visitors. John asked his younger brother, Will Keith Kellogg, to come up with some recipes. Will accidentally left a batch of cooked corn and wheat in the sun one day. When he returned, he discovered that both the foods had gone stale. After some experimentation, cornflakes were born. Crepe Suzette. Legend holds that this flambéed crepe dish was invented in 1895 by a 14-year-old assistant waiter. His name was Henry Carpentier, and he was employed at a restaurant in Monte Carlo. While Henry was sautéing crepes in butter and liqueurs for the Prince of Wales, the whole concoction accidentally caught fire. Carpentier thought his dish was ruined. However, after the flames died down, he took a taste and knew that he had actually created something special. The delicious new food was later named for a lady who regularly dined at the prince's table. Fortified wine. In order to transport wine by sea, some vintners experimented with the wine formula. They reduced the wine content and added extra alcohol so that the liquid would be preserved for longer periods of time. This liquid was then stored in wooden casks for shipment. The liquid was reconstituted upon arrival. The ultimate fact is that the technique didn't quite work. However, by not adding water and tinkering with the components a bit, the vintners were able to create something new: fortified wine. This food is worthy of being in the list of the top 5 amazing foods. Tarte Tatin. As you may know, tarte tatin is a caramelized apple pie with the crust on the bottom. This food got its name from two sisters, Stephanie and Caroline Tatin, who ran a hotel located on the outskirts of Paris called Hotel Tatin in the late 1800s. One day, Stephanie overcooked a dozen apples, nearly burning them. The apples were meant to be used as filling for a traditional apple pie. Stephanie put her pie's crust on top of the overcooked apples in order to prevent them from burning further in the oven. Once the crust was fully baked, she served the food upside down, such that the crust was at the bottom of the plate. Her guests loved the new dessert. After that day, tarte tatin became the hotel's signature dessert. Now we will present the top 5 foods that were invented for another purpose. Worcestershire sauce. Worcestershire sauce was invented by 2 chemists from Worcestershire, England. The 2 men were named John Wheelie and William Henry Perrins. Nobody is quite sure how they got their hands on the original recipe. However, the story goes that upon first concocting it, the 2 chemists found it unpalatable. They stashed all the barrels containing the sauce in the corner of their pharmacy's basement and completely forgot about them. The barrels were rediscovered a couple of years later when the chemists were clearing out their storeroom. To the chemists' amazement, the mixture had fermented and completely transformed in flavor. A new sauce was born. Toasted ravioli. One of St. Louis's signature dishes, toasted ravioli, has a bit of a murky origin story. 2 restaurants claim to have invented the food in the 1940s. They both have their own tale, but both of them claim that it was an accident. The owners of Oladin's claim that a tipsy cook accidentally dropped some ravioli in the fryer and attempted to salvage them with some grated Parmesan. Contrarily, the owner of Angelo's claimed that a waiter told a new, untrained cook to drop some ravioli. The cook dropped the food into the hot oil instead of boiling water. Lo, modern-day ravioli was born. Regardless of who invented this food, deep-fried ravioli is insanely delicious. Tofu. Tofu was invented by the ancient Chinese, and there are quite a few stories out there explaining the origin of tofu. One legend tells of a cook who dropped a coagulant named nigari into a pot of soy milk. Another tale claims that boiled soybeans accidentally got mixed with salt containing calcium and magnesium. This caused the mixture to congeal, and tofu was born. Yogurt. Yogurt is made by adding bacteria and enzymes to milk, and it was most likely invented accidentally by Central Asian goat herdsmen in the 6th century BC. Herdsmen at the time used to store goat milk in animal stomachs. This practice provided both the bacteria and enzymes needed to turn the milk into a thick, tart concoction that stayed fresh longer than milk. Over the course of centuries, this tart-like substance culminated into what we know today as yogurt. Dippin Dots. But first, do us a favor. Click that like button to inspire us. Subscribe to our channel and click the notification bell and you won't miss any interesting videos. Done then? Let's go. In 1988, a microbiologist named Curt Jones was working to find a more effective method for feeding cows using liquid nitrogen. One method involved flash freezing liquid cow feed to negative 320 degrees Fahrenheit, which froze little drops of the liquid instantaneously. All of a sudden, it dawned on Jones that the cow feed could easily be replaced by an ice cream base, and the rest is history. Ice cream cones. The ice cream cone was invented at the 1904 St. Louis World's Fair as a result of a chance encounter between two food vendors. One was selling ice cream in cups, another was selling Middle Eastern pastries. These pastries were thin and crispy, similar to waffles. When the ice cream vendor ran out of cups, the pastry vendor rolled up his extra waffles into a cone shape to help him out. The ice cream cone was born. A great story indeed. The sandwich. Who invented this fast food? John Montagu, 4th Earl of Sandwich. When? Sometime in the 1700s. What happened? There is some debate about the invention of the sandwich. Some believe Montagu couldn't leave a partially intense gambling game, so he requested that meat be brought to him between two pieces of bread. Others believe that work kept him at his desk for so many hours, necessitating a utensil-free meal. Either way, Montagu's refusal to get up for a meal resulted in one of the greatest culinary advances in history. Which one is your favorite food? Do you have any crazy food ideas? Let us know in the comments. Like always, if you enjoyed it, be sure to give us a big thumbs up and leave us some love in the comments section. Keep up to date with all of our awesome videos. Be sure to hit subscribe and turn your notifications on to never miss a thing. Until next time, do take care of yourself.